ChatGPT Plus is free for college students through May. Here's the thing. You've got a lot to do between now and then. Studying for finals, writing papers, trying to keep your life on track, and ChatGPT can help with all of it. It can quiz you for your econ exam, make a study guide from your French notes, plan out your meals and study breaks. It can get really specific on how you like to learn. It can even help you come up with ways to stop procrastinating. So from now until summer break, take advantage of all the ways ChatGPT can make your life easier. Restrictions apply.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Good morrow, everyone. This is The Other Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. I'm Frank Morano. Well, folks, it seems like Eric Adams has decided not to wait for Andrew Cuomo to officially throw his hat into the mayoral ring. He's already sharpening his knives. In a recent interview with Politico, Adams took aim at Cuomo, holding him accountable for the policies he championed during his time as governor, especially bail reform. Adams asked the million-dollar question: who was there for the original bail reform? Who signed some of these procedures? He's making it clear that Cuomo's record as governor is fair game, especially now that Cuomo is hinting at a run for the job Adams currently holds. Now, let's be real here. Cuomo running for mayor is fascinating. This is the same guy who pushed congestion pricing, enacted sweeping bail reforms, and presided over a host of progressive policies. Yet if he runs, he'll be running against much of that record. He's running essentially against himself. It's like it's Cuomo, the mayoral candidate, campaigning against Cuomo, the governor. It's absurd. Meanwhile, Adams isn't exactly on the ropes, but he's certainly feeling the pressure. Crime continues to dominate headlines in New York City, with horrific subway incidents and a pervasive sense of unease among New Yorkers. Adams knows that his political future, and perhaps even his legacy, hinges on his ability to convince voters he's got a handle on public safety. The irony here is thick. Cuomo is trying to reinvent himself as a law and order candidate, distancing himself from the very bail reforms that many believe contributed to today's concerns. Adams, on the other hand, is using those reforms as a cudgel to beat Cuomo. It's like watching a Shakespearean drama unfold in the world of New York politics. But let's give Adams some credit. At least he's willing to call Cuomo out for something that I haven't heard him be called out for among any of the other Democratic mayoral candidates. Cuomo's response, predictably, was to point out Adams' own flip-flops on bail reform, noting that just last year, Adams dismissed the debate as a bumper sticker issue. The back and forth is heating up, and it's not even primary season yet. Here's the bottom line. A Cuomo versus Adams showdown would be a clash of the titans with outer borough roots, fighting over the same voters on the same issues. And while Adams has his flaws, and believe me, there are many, he's at least addressing the concerns of everyday New Yorkers who just want to feel safe again. Whether or not Cuomo officially enters the race, Adams' willingness to confront him is refreshing. After all, politicians need to be held accountable for their records, especially when they're trying to rewrite history to suit their own ambitions.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
Your snacking routine can get a little dull. Time for an Oikos remix. Like a crunchy storm of sea salt praline pretzels, dark chocolate, and butter toffee, showering down into a smooth, creamy yogurt. Enjoy 3 Oikos Remix varieties with epic mix-ins and 11 grams of complete protein per 4.5-ounce serving. See RemixYogurt.com.
The Other Side of Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
Good morrow, everyone. This is The Other Side of Midnight on 77 WABC. I'm Frank Morano. When it comes to Governor Kathy Hochul, I'll admit I'm often her harshest critic, but credit where credit is due. She's absolutely right to push for changes to New York's involuntary commitment laws. This is long overdue, and if she can get it done, more power to her. I think this is going to come up in her State of the State address this week. The backdrop to this discussion is grim. Random, horrifying acts of violence on New York City subways have become all too frequent. Most recently, a woman was burned to death on the F train, and a man was pushed onto the tracks in front of an oncoming train. While not every incident can be traced back to untreated mental illness, there's no question that many perpetrators of these crimes are suffering from severe mental health conditions that have gone unchecked. Let's, of course, remember the Daniel Penny situation. Under the current law, someone can only be involuntarily committed if they're deemed an immediate threat to themselves or others. Hochul wants to broaden that definition to allow earlier intervention. She's also proposing changes to Kendra's law, which allows judges to order outpatient treatment for those with a history of noncompliance and dangerousness. These laws already exist, but as Hochul put it, we need to add more teeth to ensure they're actually effective. Let's not forget that Kendra's law was named after Kendra Webdale, who was pushed in front of a subway train by a man with untreated schizophrenia. That tragedy spurred action in 1999. Now, 25 years later, the same problems persist. Why? Because the system is too slow and too limited and too hesitant to intervene before disaster strikes. Critics, including some civil rights advocates, argue that expanding these laws infringes on individual freedoms. That's a valid concern, and safeguards must be in place to ensure people aren't wrongly committed. But let's be honest. What about the rights of everyday New Yorkers who just want to ride the subway without fearing for their lives? What about the rights of the mentally ill themselves, who are often left to spiral further into instability because the system failed to intervene when it could have made a difference? Mayor Eric Adams has been banging this drum for months, and he's right too. Public safety and compassion are not mutually exclusive. By addressing severe mental illness early and decisively, we can save lives, not just the lives of potential victims, but also the lives of those suffering. Hochul says she'll include this proposal in her executive budget, and she's optimistic about it getting passed. That's easier said than done. Legislative leaders, especially in the Assembly, have historically resisted these changes, but who knows? The tide might be turning. Let's hope so.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
Mic check. 1, 2. Are we recording? Hi, I'm Michelle Bernstein, an award-winning chef, restaurateur, and mom. I have a lot on my plate, including my psoriatic arthritis symptoms. That's why I was prescribed Cosentyx. It helps me move better.
Cosentyx secukinumab is prescribed for people 2 years of age and older with active psoriatic arthritis. Don't use if you're allergic to Cosentyx. Before starting, get checked for tuberculosis. An increased risk of infections and lowered ability to fight them may occur, like tuberculosis or other serious bacterial, fungal, or viral infections. Some were fatal. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms like fevers, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, had a vaccine or plan to, or if inflammatory bowel disease symptoms develop or worsen. Serious allergic reactions and severe eczema-like skin reactions may occur. Learn more at 1-844-COSENTYX or Cosentyx.com.
Ask your rheumatologist about Cosentyx.
The Other Side at Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
It's only been 1 weekday since congestion pricing launched in Manhattan, and already the complaints are pouring in, and with good reason. Picture this. You live on East 61st Street, just 1 block north of the congestion pricing zone, which these idiotic signs refer to as a congestion relief zone. You're paying a premium for a parking garage, but thanks to poor planning and one-way streets, the only way to leave your block is to pay the $9 toll. That's right. Just to turn your car south for a moment before heading uptown, you're slapped with a charge. For Andrew Heiberger, who's profiled in the Post, a resident of East 61st Street, this ridiculous scenario has turned his own front door into a toll booth. And he's not alone. Private drivers, UPS workers, and anyone else who dares to cross the invisible line into Midtown Manhattan now face the same infuriating reality. Of course, congestion pricing proponents argue this is about reducing traffic and bolstering mass transit. But let's get real. It feels more like a cash grab, and people are rightfully angry. Even Heiberger, who supports mass transit and pedestrian zones, says it's like being told to walk across your own street in a suburban cul-de-sac. but the hits keep coming. While New Yorkers are reeling from this new congestion toll, the Port Authority quietly, hiked its rates too. Need to get in Manhattan via the Lincoln or Holland Tunnel or the George Washington Bridge? That'll be $16.06 during peak hours. That's up from $15.38. Off-peak, it's $14.06. Even motorcyclists and truck drivers are seeing their wallets drained. And it's all cashless now, which is convenient for them, but leaves little recourse for frustrated drivers. The increases were as predictable as they were infuriating. Every time the Port Authority claims it needs funds for repairs or upgrades, drivers get squeezed a little harder. So here's the question no one seems to be asking. How much is too much? You can only squeeze people, the same people, so many times before they have no more juice to give. These are workers, families, and regular folks just trying to go about their lives, not walking ATMs for the MTA or the Port Authority. New Yorkers are resilient, but even we have our limits. Between congestion pricing, rising bridge and tunnel tolls, and the endless cost of living increases in this city, it's hard not to wonder, what's the breaking point? It's time for city and state leaders to stop treating New Yorkers like cash cows and start finding real solutions. Because at this rate, Manhattan might not have a congestion problem at all. Just a whole lot of people who can't afford to show up.
Beam me up!
To be continued.
That moment when you realize your skincare is actually working. That's Rodan & Fields, the #1 female dermatologist-founded skincare brand in the U.S. Designed by 2 dermatologists who don't just know women's skin, they know how to formulate for it. Rodan & Fields, love what you see. Tap the banner or visit rodanandfields.com/Spotify to get your exclusive welcome offer.
The Other Side at Midnight.
77 WABC.
Local Spotlight.
A prominent lawyer and candidate for mayor of New York City, Jim Walden, has filed a lawsuit that could have significant implications for third-party politics in New York. Walden is challenging a 2022 state law that prohibits political parties from using the words independent or independence in their names. For context, Walden left the Democratic Party more than a decade ago and hopes to run on the Independence Party ballot line in the November general election. Historically, the Independence Party played a major role in New York politics, often endorsing high-profile candidates, including Mayor Mike Bloomberg during his 3 successful campaigns for mayor. But in 2020, the Independence Party lost its ballot status after failing to meet the state's newly raised thresholds for third-party survival. Then, in 2022, Governor Kathy Hochul signed a law banning the use of independent and independence in party names. The official reasoning was to avoid confusion among voters, but many see it, including me, as a deliberate move to stifle competition and reinforce the dominance of the Democratic and Republican parties. Walden's lawsuit argues that the law is unconstitutional, calling it a violation of the First and 14th Amendments. He describes it as a naked attempt to limit competitive elections, enforcing a duopoly between the Democratic and Republican parties. Walden also believes this law limits political speech and violates voters' rights to fair and equal elections. Now, here's why Jim Walden is absolutely right. This law isn't just an overreach. It's a direct attack on democracy. As someone who was a leader in the state's Independence Party for many years, I can tell you firsthand that the name Independence Party is something that voters knew about, and even if they didn't, it's not the job of the state legislature to help them avoid confusion. It's about giving people an alternative, a place for those tired of the entrenched partisan extremes of the 2 major parties. This law wasn't written to protect voters. It was written to protect politicians. By banning certain words, the state is deliberately making it harder for third parties to organize and compete. It's a move designed to keep outsiders like Jim Walden off the ballot. The Independence Party once had over 400,000 registered voters in New York. Those voters deserved and still deserve a voice. Instead, the state has decided to stifle competition, ensuring that voters have fewer choices. Not Walden's point. about voter frustration with partisan extremes is spot on. Most people aren't looking for ideologues. They're looking for practical solutions to the problems they face every day. But with laws like this, voters are stuck choosing between two entrenched parties that care more about maintaining power than serving the people. I'm wishing them a lot of luck with this.
Beam me up!
To be continued.